This is the K95.3 Sports Show podcast, brought to you by the Fan Zone in Wilmer's Candy Mall.
Welcome to the K95.3 Sports Show podcast. My name is Beau. I will be your host. As usual, if you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on your cell phone, hit the bell button next to the subscribe button. Also, and that will give you push notifications every Wednesday when I have a new episode drop. Also, thank you to the Fan Zone in the Candy Mall for sponsoring the K95.3 Sports Show podcast. Please get in there and buy some great sports memorabilia from them. Obviously, for those tuning in, you probably saw last week we have Brandon Zylstra interview. I've got a good 30-minute interview with him coming up later on in the show, so please stick around and listen to what we have to talk about before we get to that, because we have Gopher tickets that we are going to be giving away here in just a couple of weeks. For the last 2 weeks prior to this, I've given out 2 different words of the week. So if you missed them, go back and listen to the previous shows and see if you can find them. And actually, Brandon will give you the third word of the week later on in his interview, and then next week will be the 4th word, and you will need to email me all 4 words after next week to have a chance to win Gopher men's basketball tickets, I believe, to the Indiana game February 16th. So definitely check those out. Go back to past episodes if you missed a word and check it out there. So also, as usual, please email me your Mount Rushmore of Vikings players. I'm taking those every week. The email for me is K953sportsshow@gmail.com. That's K953sportsshow@gmail.com. And we'll just jump into a quick little preview of the Vikings game since they didn't play this last weekend. I brought in Jeremy Goulet, my office manager, for this quick little truncated sports show before the interview with Brandon. How you doing today, Jeremy?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Hey, not too bad, my man. You know, just missed Viking football yesterday.
Yeah, it's really odd when they're not around. It's as though you forget how much your Sundays can revolve around that.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously they're coming up. Their game against the Bears was flexed to the Sunday night. Let's talk about the Bears. As we saw on Sunday, the Bears totally dismantled the Lions like we did. I think the Lions, the sign that they were giving up was that they traded Golden Tate. That was just I just didn't understand that. Yeah,
I still don't really understand the trade. That was one of their weapons. I mean, that they really relied on, very much so. And how many times did the different announcers talk about any time that the Lions got in a third and whatever, they're like, this was always Golden Tate territory. It's just they all kind of stand looking at each other. They don't know what to do now.
They definitely mailed it in, I think, for the season, which is kind of odd. But obviously they got whooped up by the Bears. We're going to Chicago. We always play horrible at Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been saying for the last week, we go in, if we're 15-1 at the end of the season and the Bears are 1-15, that one loss to us and their one win is most likely when we went to Chicago, because we just, no matter how good our team is, we just seem to do bad there. I don't know really what to expect. We talk always like, what the Vikings need to do to win. For me, it's just play their game. They can't, no turnovers, and just play defense like they do, run the ball like they can, and pass where they need to. It's just play Viking football. What's your thoughts, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think that's true too. Going to Chicago now, it reminds me of a lot of, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day when we'd go to Tampa Bay when they were still in our division,
we were like that.
It was just, we just could not play in Tampa Bay. We always shot ourselves in the foot, just killed us all the time. And well, I think the 15-1 season, that was the only loss we had was in Tampa Bay. I think a big key in this game will be, just like you said, play Vikings football. We need to create our takeaways. And I think for us, a big part of it also will be controlling the game. I mean, playing our football where we're kind of in control. And like I said, a lot of that for us, we always seem to do better when we're doing takeaways. And another thing, at Soldier Field, we got to keep their crowd out of it. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, I don't know how much, Chicago football you've watched lately, but man, that defense with Mac is just, it's exciting. They're quick. I mean, and the final score of that Lions game against them, that was not indicative at all of how that game had gone. I mean, that was basically
got some junk points.
Yeah, they totally just, the Bears kind of let off at the end there. Other than that, I mean, they've got fumble recoveries every game. They're creating turnovers. I mean, they're making quarterbacks run for their lives. It's an exciting defense for Chicago. I mean, for them, it's got to be very reminiscent of the '85. I mean,
it's I don't know what to think about the Bears, just because it seems like every 3-4 years the Bears come out of nowhere. Because let's be honest, every year they almost have kind of a crap schedule.
Yep. Because
of where they finish in the NFC North. So just taking a look at their schedule here, they lost to the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Then they did beat the Seahawks at home, and Seahawks have been playing better recently. Beginning of the year, they were horrible.
They've turned it around,
and they've looked a lot better now. So, take that for what it is. They beat the lonely Cardinals. They beat the Buccaneers. They lost to the Dolphins. They beat the Jets. They lost to the Patriots. They beat the Bills, and then they beat the Lions. I don't think I named a single playoff team that they've played that I think will make the playoffs. Because to be honest, I don't see Packers as a playoff team. They just don't. Maybe they'll squeak in.
If they do,
but
it
depends what happens in the South, I believe.
Yeah, and
NFC South.
It's one of those things. I mean, they are. It's just kind of which Chicago team is going to show up. The one thing, like I said, they have an exciting defense, but I'm not going to lie. Another big part of it is we're going to have to contain Mitch Trubisky. This season. You say what you will, but the guy he makes things happen. But at the same time, what I worry about with him though is his scrambling ability.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I mean, just that few weeks ago, he ran 79.2 yards to score an 8-yard touchdown, scrambling the back, all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got legs under him, and
I'll give him that. He's difficult to keep in pocket.
Yep.
And that's what getting to what the Bears need to do to win. I think definitely. They need to create turnovers like they always do. They need to get those great bounces like they always do, like we kind of mentioned on last week's show. And, the Vikings need to shoot themselves in the foot. If they can capitalize on some early turnovers against us, then I think they'll give them a chip and a chair and a shot at beating us. But we just need to go in there and play our game. I don't know much more to say about the Bears than that. They say, you talk about their offense. Yes, their defense is definitely their strong point. Is there an offensive player on their team that you would take over our team? Maybe Cohen.
I was just going to say,
would you take him over a healthy Cook?
See, but that's just it.
I wouldn't. Cook's a better runner.
Right. And what I would say with Cohen, what we're going to have to watch with that is more of his special team efforts, because that's the guy who can burn you on the 100-yard return. I mean, so it kind of keep an eye on that kind of stuff. Howard is definitely no slouch at running back, but Vikings have done pretty good against the rushing this year. So I mean,
our defense is tightened up. When you have a bottom, even though he's doing better, I still don't see them as a top 15. I don't know what they are. I don't have it up here on my computer what their offense is, but they're definitely not a top 15. We're barely a top 15. So, yeah. We were like a 12 after last week. And, I'm just not scared of their offense. I'm just not. Against our defense of, years ago when we didn't have a defense when we went down there, that's usually why we lost, because their offense, their bad offense could do well against our bad defense. But, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be either way. It's gonna be hopefully a good game. Of course, obviously, I just hope we just go in there and just pound them, just so we can just statement game and be like, this is all smoke and mirrors for the Bears. This is not the Chicago Bears.
And I think that would be really huge for us too, because that's the kind of thing we need right now is a statement game. Just because different announcers, and you hear people talking too about just like, well, what's going on with this division? Like, it's who's the leader of this division? Who? When this season started, everybody clearly was like, well, it's going to be the Vikings, and it's just like it's been a pinball game. People shoot up and down, and I just think that and with the Packers winning yesterday too, I mean, I think it's very important that we win this game just to kind of show that it's like, nah, we're here, we're still in the conversation, and go from there, I guess.
Yeah. So let's go to a little prediction here. What do you got for final score?
I'm gonna go with 31-21. Us. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's decent. I'm going to go 24-16. A little different. I don't see them. I see them, as usual, our defense tends to bend but don't break. So I see them coming out with, 3 field goals and squeaking in a touchdown at some point. So that gets them up to 16. Vikes, I see us hopefully getting 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So, that's an 8-point win. I'd take that. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be okay with me.
Oh, yeah. And I'm hoping that we can sneak something out on defense, maybe, get a pick 6 or something like that.
Yeah, turnovers will make a big difference on the score for sure.
I'm hoping that, Delvin Cook just gave us a little flash of, healthiness last week, showing that, because they even talked to him after the game that he still wasn't quite 100%.
Yep.
And it's like, I'll tell you what, that 70-whatever yard run he had, he sure looked pretty good. Well, and a friend of ours, didn't he post? He was at the game and he had set the speed record or something like that for the NFL. It was like
for the year
for the quickest run or whatever. Yep. Yeah. So hey, you get him and Murray both in there. Yep.
We get healthy. We get Rhodes back. Hopefully, Barr back. Sendejo had been practicing. So yeah, that would be huge to get be healthy. Diggs, of course. So I think we'll be pretty healthy going into the game, which is great for the second half of the season.
Exactly. Have you heard anything about Diggs?
I haven't heard more because of I think Brandon mentioned they showed back up today, and then tomorrow they start practicing again, or they have meetings on Monday, Tuesday. They do. They have a day off, and then I think Wednesday they get back to practice. Okay. So we'll find out more. I think Wednesday or Thursday. Of course, for people listening, this was recorded Monday this week instead of Tuesday. Yeah. So I think we'll come out more healthy and better to go. So I'm excited for that. But it'll be a fun game either way. But let's get into one other quick thing before we get to the Brandon Zylstra interview. Let's the crybaby Butler was finally traded over the weekend. Yay! Thank goodness. My goodness, that was
quite a drama.
God, geez, what a mess. Well, the whole thing was, and so let me go over just a few things here that I found out. Obviously, Butler and Justin Patton were traded. The Justin Patton was who we actually used with the 16th pick that we got from Chicago. Oh. So essentially, by us trading Butler and Patton, we're null and void on the Chicago trade completely. We have 0 assets from that trade now. And Patton was a nobody. He played like 1 game, 2 minutes, and he's been injured the entire time. So he was just kind of a throw-in player. Of course, we got Dario Saric, Robert Covington, Gerard Bayless, and a 2022, 4 years from now, second round pick. Yep. Second round pick. From what it sounds like, the Gerard Bayless is a potential buyout. He's been injured, and I think he's a free agent at the end of the year. So I believe he's just going to be a buyout. So he's kind of pointless. I looked into. I've heard of Robert Covington before, and I haven't really heard of Dario Saric. So I did a little looking into him. Robert Covington, he's actually under contract for 4 years at a fair price. So he's going to be with us for a while. Saric for at least 2 more until he potentially gets expensive, and if he turns out to be a solid player. Like I said, both of them are solid role players. Covington is one of the premier 3-and-D wings in the league. For those that don't know what 3-and-D is, it's basically someone who is proficient at shooting from long range on offense, but also providing quality defense on the opposite end of the court, especially defensive assignments on like the NBA's top wing players. And I looked up last year, Covington was named all defensive first team. You know who was behind him, who was second team?
No clue.
Butler.
All right.
So he beat Butler on the defensive team, on the all-defensive team. So if we're going to get Butler's defense, and Robert's no slouch when it comes to shooting either. I mean, he averages between 11 and 13 points throughout his career. By the way, an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
So that's anytime you get an undrafted free agent in the NBA that becomes a first-team defensive player, good for him, man.
Take it, yep.
He hustled his way. So I mean, Covington, I've always heard good things about him. So that's great. So that's our defensive player. That's the defensive version of Butler. So we got this. We still got the defense. That way Wiggins doesn't have to guard the people up at the 3-pointer and anything like that. Thank goodness.
That'd be good.
Yes. And then now with Saric, he's more of a playmaker, shooting in the front court, not as much of a defensive. So now we're getting the shooting side of the trade with Butler. So in last year, Dario averaged about 14.5 points per game. He's averaging only 11 this year. But the guy's from Croatia, I believe. Yes, yep. Croatia, 94, so that makes him 24 years old and 6'10". So, he'll be a decent power forward possibly, yeah. And maybe even center. I don't know how they'll use him, but, you take a look, and if Saric and Covington, they'll probably be our 4th or 5th best player on our team, if we're completely healthy. I think then they'll be dropping below that because, of course, if Derrick Rose is healthy, then I think the team goes Cat, Wiggins, Rose, Teague, and then those two will come up if you're going to go by who's good and who's bad. But I don't know. At first look, I think we did okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna when a top player like that forces a trade, you're not going to get top quality back. But we're going to get role players, a handful of role players.
But at the same time, sometimes getting that personality off of your team that doesn't want to be there can make a big difference. Yep. Also, I mean,
that's true.
That's one thing I guess I still don't quite understand when it comes to that, because when you see that you're on a team that has a nucleus that could actually, I mean, you got Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, why you wouldn't want to stick around and be a part of that and try to see where that could go. But then again, this kind of reminds me of the back in the day too with Stephon Marbury. Once Garnett showed up, he kind of was just like, no, and it was just like, okay, you've got Gugliotta, now you've got this young phenom out of high school and Kevin Garnett and you don't want to give it a try and see what this is. Oh, okay.
And let's be honest, he basically just. The difference between him with Butler with Minnesota and him with Philadelphia is essentially Philadelphia can afford to give him a max contract.
Yeah.
But they've got Ben Simmons and they've got Joel Embiid. Be honest, that's essentially Cat and Wiggins.
Yep. So
it's almost the exact same situation. He gets to move to the East at least, so, a team that finishes 3rd over there for the playoff race is like 6th or 7th in the Western Division. So, I mean, he'll maybe have a little longer run in the playoffs, but the team isn't that much different than us. Embiid's a better defender than Cat. I think Cat's maybe a little better scorer than Embiid, but it's essentially the same thing. That's the only bonus is that he gets paid, and that's what it's only been about with Butler.
Well, and that's pretty much
from day one.
Yeah, they said
because he would have stayed here.
Yeah,
I mean, we were in position for the 3rd playoff spot last year before he got injured.
Yep.
So after this trade, what will it end up showing? I think it'll just end up showing that the Wolves will just get, if we make the playoffs, we'll get like the 8th or 7th seed, maybe the 6th if we're lucky, if we make the playoffs, and then we'll lose in the first round to the eventual NBA champion.
So back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So it kind of sucks. But again, when we didn't make the playoffs for 13, 14 years, a one and done might actually be a good thing. It gets the playoff experience for Cat and Town, or for Cat and Towns, for Cat and Wiggins, and whatever. They're still super young, and we still got some time to build. So we'll see how it plays out throughout the year. Like you said, I'm glad Butler's gone.
Well, that's the biggest thing.
The poison is gone.
Yeah, if it's and I understand like how they said, well, maybe this is his way of trying to get the best out of his players, whatever. And I think that there is a point to be said about that, but there's also a point where I think you might cross a line. It kind of seemed like he was getting to that more of like, I'm doing this not to try to motivate us to be better. I'm trying to basically say you guys are garbage.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing what I'm going to do, and you're just going to sit there and take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll obviously be touching back more as the season goes on with the Timberwolves and seeing how Saric and Covington do and see how it helps the team and hopefully with the energy. So, right now, though, we will stop with what we're talking about, and we'll jump right into the Zylstra interview. So it was a great interview with Brandon, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. And here it is. Thanks again, Brandon, for coming in studio here at K95. I appreciate you giving us your time here on your bye week. Appreciate it. And, obviously, you had team activities going through Wednesday this week. When do you have to go back? What's the normal schedule for bye weeks?
So bye week, I think, every team kind of does it differently. Coaches in this week wanted us to come in on, Tuesday, Wednesday to come get some practices in.
Okay.
And so Tuesday we had a practice. We were just kind of running through some things. It was kind of a shorter practice, not actually running against the scouts. And then Wednesday we came in, expecting another full practice. We get in there, get through a full warm-up. I think we got through a little bit of individual drills. And he brings us all up, and he's all right, go home, guys.
Nice.
Go enjoy your break.
No excitement from any of the players.
Oh, we were pumped. It's nice to get that extra day off your legs.
Yeah. Nice. Well, obviously went to NLS for football, for school, everything. Tell me about your high school coach, Dan Essler. What did he say or do that has really helped you become who you are today?
He definitely turned that program around because, growing up, I go to the football games. I won't really watch the football games.
Mm-hmm.
We'd always
you're
just
off the side playing.
Playing football off to the side. That's what we always did. But you'd always look up at the scoreboard. Sometime we'd be down 46-7. We were always kind of bottom of the conference. And then as I started to get older, he started developing things. He put a big emphasis in the weight room, which I think really kind of changed the culture around NLS, and ultimately started having success. He just instills success in everybody. Really pushes the kids, and he's made great strides the last couple of years. Nice.
No, that's awesome. And obviously, going to school. I'm assuming you were a 3-sport athlete.
I was.
Basketball. Okay, basketball, then track and field.
Yep.
Right, and then of course football. So obviously during the school year it was sports. Did you have any part-time jobs at all, or was it just sports?
I worked, but only in the summer. I did the country stop in Spicer.
Okay.
I worked under Phil Westby, loading up the stands in the morning. And I always did that because you go in at 5, and I was done by 9 or 10. It kind of depends upon what day. And then straight from there, you go to school and lift, and then you have the whole day to kind of do whatever you want. And I'm a person that like to stay busy, go and hang out with friends, always on the lake. I just wanted a lot of my me time.
Nice. Yeah, no, that works out perfect. All right, well, let's jump into your college career a little bit. Obviously, you ended up at Concordia for the end of it. How was it going to college up at Concordia? They've got a pretty good name for themselves.
Yeah, it's a school with a lot of tradition, and that's something they take a lot of pride in. Even as far as the offense, running the same offense for whoever knows how many years now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Definitely a school with a lot of tradition, a lot of pride in that, and we were consistent. We didn't quite get to where we wanted every year. We were always pushing for that playoff spot, but it's just tough with the D3 level because they're only taking one from our conference a lot of the time. Occasionally two. Even though we had one of the tougher conferences, it's always kind of between us and the WIAC, the Wisconsin conference. But 8-2, 8-2, 7-3. So we won a lot of games, but didn't quite get to where we wanted.
That's too bad. That's football, I guess, right?
It is what it is. You can't win them all.
Yeah, no, exactly. My sister-in-law works up at Concordia. She was the director of residence life.
Okay.
Back then, her name is J.C. O'Connor.
I've definitely seen the name. I couldn't put a face to the name, but I've definitely seen the name in some emails and stuff.
Yeah. She's been there for a long time. She's got a new job. I can't recall what the new position is called, but yeah.
Still at Concordia, though?
Yep. Okay. Still at Concordia. Yep. No, she really likes working there. You talked about the football at Concordia, but you were also a big part of the track and field. Like you said, you did that at New London Spicer, and I saw that you actually broke the high jump record. You jumped 6 feet 10 3/4 inches, beating the old record of 6 feet 9 inches. That had to have been pretty exciting. that's a school record.
It was, but honestly, so I joined track the first year I transferred in, and the only reason I did it was just like, oh, I'm going to join track. Like I used to do it in high school. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. But it's also just a way for me to go meet people.
Yep.
And so I did it, not having any expectations really. I was just like, oh, I'm going to see if I can jump 6'7" again, because I was always my best in high school. And, I had a little bit of success my first year. And then second year, I really wanted to focus on my classes. Education first, right?
Yeah,
they say.
Yeah.
So, I took a year off from track. And then my senior year, I was just like, you know what? I really enjoy track. I enjoy the competition part of it because that's something that fuels me is competition. So I wanted to get back in there for that. I actually set some goals for myself that I actually wanted to exceed. I wanted to, be All-American. That was always a dream of mine coming out of high school, was to become an All-American for college. And I didn't get it done in the football sense. I was preseason All-American one year, but didn't actually get the All-American. Battled some injuries that year. So I was just like, you know what, this is my last chance to get it in track. And got close, but didn't quite get it.
Oh, that's well. At least you got the record, though. You could say.
I did get the record.
Hopefully that stays for a while. I know the other one was just back in like 2010, so that one didn't last very long.
Yeah,
but I'm sure that just seems each generation just keeps getting more and more athletic. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it can last a while.
I tried to make a mark at Concordia, something that I could stay there for a while. And I'm hoping that one's gonna last.
Awesome. Let's. I've mixed in some more personal questions. Name me 3 of your all-time favorite movies. Give me 3 movies that you just love, that you can watch over and over again.
Always been a Jack Reacher fan. And the Ocean movies, Ocean 11, classic.
God. I was thinking about those the other week, and I was like, God, I haven't seen them since not too long after they came out. I kind of want to rewatch them because I love those too.
They're always on TV, so I always catch myself watching them.
Yeah.
It's hard to flip away from them.
Yeah.
To bring it back to my childhood, and this is actually funny because I just watched this the other day with Jaden. I'll kind of explain that in a second. Yeah. But Aladdin.
Oh.
So I don't know where I was, but I heard like a soundtrack from Aladdin. I said, dude, I used to love that show. And I looked for it on Netflix when I got home that day. And this is like last week or 2 weeks ago. And I couldn't find it. I looked on like HBO. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's tough. Disney movies like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so old. And, finally made it home. And Jaden and I, my youngest brother, were trying to decide what to do. And we were both, we're pretty tired, kind of getting ready for bed. I said, dude, we're finding Aladdin. I'm putting that in. And he goes, what, Aladdin? I was like, have you even seen this? He goes, nah, I don't think so. I said, this is my favorite movie growing up. I'm throwing it in.
Nice.
And so he fell asleep during it, but I finished it.
Oh, you fell asleep?
He fell asleep during it.
Yeah, no, Aladdin is arguably my favorite all-time animated movie. I'm a huge Robin Williams guy.
And that's kind of why I wanted to watch it too, because I just watched a documentary on Robin.
Oh, the HBO one.
And that maybe
I haven't seen it yet. I've been waiting for my dad. My dad's also a huge guy, and we haven't gotten together to watch it together. But I've heard it was a great documentary.
Honestly, that could have been why, like, what inspired me to go back and watch it. It could have been the Robin Williams documentary.
Yeah.
Because I remembered he was the genie.
Yep. Yeah. No, I was a huge Robin Williams, and when he took his own life, I mean, that was one of the few celebrity deaths where I was just devastated.
Yeah.
Because I'm 38, so I really grew up watching that. When Aladdin came out, I was like 12, 13 or something. Mm-hmm. And I still cannot. I can watch Aladdin because it's just his voice, but I still can't really watch movies with him in it because I'm just like, oh.
Well, the documentary is going to be tough then.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have a box of Kleenexes, but it's going to be good. Well, awesome. Those are some great movies. I'm a big movie guy. So for those listening, obviously you went to the Canadian Football League. For those listening that aren't familiar with the Canadian Football League, the Edmonton Eskimos team colors are essentially Packers colors. Did you feel a little dirty putting them on at first? A little bit dirty?
To be honest, I didn't really think twice of it. I was just like, oh, we look like the Green Bay Packers, cool.
Yeah.
But hearing all the noise I got from back home, they're like, oh, Brandon, we're super excited for you. You're playing in the CFL, living out your dream.
I can't wear your jersey.
I can't support you like that because you look like the Packers. I got that quite a bit.
I love it.
A lot of people are just like, I'll cheer for you and everything, but I'm not going to wear your colors. I'm not going to put on anything Edmonton Eskimos. They look like those guys to the east of us.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah. No, that was funny. It is hilarious that you did really. You're like, meh, whatever, but everybody else was like, no. It just shows you just what the dislike between the rivalry of the two. And obviously speaking about the Packers, you played at Lambeau Field.
Yes.
I mean, I've been to I went to a Monday night game back in 2005 that we won with the last second field goal. So I was able to smart off a little bit to the Packer fans when we were lining up for like a 17-yard field goal for the win. But it was cool to be there. What was it like being on the field in Lambeau and just kind of looking around?
Well, I'm going to start from my drive up. We stay in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yep.
So it's a 45-minute drive to the field. And we're going down the streets, and just a random person walking the dog. They see, it's a police escort, and 4 coach buses, and they just turn around and start flicking us off. And I said, oh, this rivalry is real. And, when we start getting down like that Packer Road, where the stadium is, and there's cars lined up everywhere and people tailgating everywhere, you see Vikings fans taking off their jerseys, whipping them around their head, and then you see the Packer fans throwing beers at them and flicking us off. And so, yeah, I just remember when I was seeing that, I was just laughing, and I, texted my group chat of my friends back home, and I said, you guys have to see this. I said, this is too cool right now. But no, actually being on the field, like that's been my favorite venue so far.
Nice.
To go play at, just you could feel the history in there. And the stadium is incredible, and it was a hard fought game. So that was one of the more fun games I had this year.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's there is that hatred, but most of all, I was surprised. I actually wasn't horrible when I was there. I have a face mask and I have a mohawk. I'll show you a picture when we're done what my get up is when I go to the games. And but walking through there, we didn't get a lot of crap from the Packer fans. When we got inside the stadium, then more people were kind of giving us some crap, and and my dad was like, just keep your mouth shut, Beau. I like to pop off every once in a while, you know what I mean?
Enough.
Yeah, so he's like, keep it going. And like I said, they had a broken coverage catch, got down at like the 2-yard line, so it was the old school extra point to win.
Yep.
And with like 2 seconds left, and the entire audience all the Packer fans just got up, and finally I was just like, I couldn't stand up. I just stood up. Where are you going? There's 2 seconds left. You never know. Got a few number 1 signs, like you said. So I held it in as long as I could, but then we're winning, so now I gotta.
What I was actually surprised about so much is when we were there, how many Vikings fans were actually there. They're doing the skull chat around the stadium, and you could hear it clear as day. Yeah, and it was the same thing at the Jets. Like when we were at the Jets game, I swear we had just as many fans as them.
I can imagine.
And when they're doing, because our fans were right behind our bench, so when they cheered, you can definitely hear them, and it got loud in there.
Nice.
Cool.
No, it's I love the skull chant and how it's followed. Like we finally have that one thing that kind of
unites us all.
Exactly, and we didn't have that before, and I love seeing it all the time at the visiting. When we're visiting somewhere, and especially when we're winning, and they all kind of congregate together and do it. No, that's awesome. Jump right to another kind of personal question a little bit here. What kind of music do you listen to, and who are some of your favorite groups or artists?
A wide variety, because I grew up with listening to a lot of like that 90s music, and that's something that whenever I hear it, just kind of brings me back. So I don't mind listening to that every once in a while. I love like slow jam R&B type stuff from the 90s and 2000s. Big fan of that kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of not so much the newest rap, but I like again like 2000s rap, because I feel like everything now, there's a lot of nonsense in it.
Preach.
Preach. It's hard to listen to it a lot of the time, because everybody's so worried about their beats now, and less so much about their content and what they're saying, and so it's not as fun for me to follow along, I guess.
Yeah. If right there made me like you just a little bit more. I'm a big hip hop R&B, once again, 90s through the mid 2000s. Bone Thugs and Harmony, they're my jam.
Okay.
I've seen Bone 5-6 times. Crazy Bone was in town here at Pep's when he had his bar open. Got my signature with him, stuff like that. So I understand. I agree with you with the new music. It's just there's no content, no lyrical content. It's just it's just repeating the same thing over again, and it's not even really rap. I mean, they just try
to get something catchy that'll get stuck in your head, which is gonna bring it to the top of the charts.
Yeah.
Some of it is catchy. Like I still listen to some of it. Like don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as the old stuff.
Yeah, and I thought the new Eminem. Have you listened to the new Eminem CD? Were you a fan of Eminem or?
I liked his old stuff.
Okay, his if you haven't listened to his new CD, listen to it. It's probably 75% old Eminem and just a sprinkle of the new stuff. I love the CD. I've been listening to it almost nonstop.
I think he's a lyrical genius, but he just raps so angry all the time.
Yeah. Okay, then maybe you won't like this one, because he goes back to that, because he kind of goes after the people that said he was done and stuff like that. So.
Which I'm sure it's good. I just haven't taken the time of day to go listen to it yet.
Yeah, no, definitely check it out. If you liked original Eminem, you will like his new CD, because I didn't like his last couple as much.
Well, I always liked Lil Wayne growing up. And the fact that he came out with the Carter 5, I was a big fan of that, and I listened to that many times too.
Yeah, nice.
There's a few songs in there that I really enjoyed.
Good. Awesome. Well, let's jump into some more questions here. Let's see. Well, after the first time we spoke, that weekend was your first NFL reception.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I don't want to say, I said have a good game this weekend, but just kidding. So that was awesome. If I recall, I think Cousins was kind of scrambling off to his right, and he kind of found you kind of going across the field. Did it hit you right away after you caught it and went out of, I think you went out of bounds, right?
Yep.
After you caught it, did you realize like, oh, yeah, I just caught my first ball, or were you just kind of game mode and just?
Well, yeah, when you get in the game, you don't really think about any of that kind of stuff. But when we broke the huddle, and I knew what I had. I looked at the defenders, and as soon as I got up to the line, I said, "This ball's mine," because they were in a man coverage, and all I did is had to, beat that nickel across the field, and I was running a deep cross, so it was easy to get open. I had all that space on the other side of the field. So when I broke, I immediately was looking back. It's hard to find Cousins a lot of the time because he's getting rushed so often.
Yep.
So it took a second to find where he was, and then I caught it, went out of bounds, and then went back to the sideline. Didn't really think about it, but I got a lot of love from the teammates.
Good.
Kind of congratulating me because they kind of set up Latavius's run.
Yep.
A few plays later. So.
Yep. Yeah.
A lot of people are excited about it.
Good. Yeah. That's good. That's good that the team kind of really gets around you. And,
for sure.
And stuff like that.
It's a great locker room.
It's a real brotherhood in a way,
for sure.
Right? Yeah. Nice. And then I did read that through a teammate in college, you were able to reach out to Adam Thielen a few years ago.
Yep.
To ask him some questions. What kind of advice did he give you leading up to this? Because obviously he's went through a similar path.
Yep. And so that's kind of why I called him. I was trying to, because coming out of college, I didn't have any agents talking to me. I didn't know anybody else that's really done the process before me. I didn't know where to train. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know how to get my name out there. And so I was just trying to, use every resource I could. And I was cold calling a lot of people. I was sending out emails to different teams, like scouts and stuff, just from the networking I started doing. I had 100-some emails of NFL scouts. Some of them were still good. Some of them were no longer a part of it. But I made a little athlete resume, basically, and a little bio of what I'm doing, how I was training, and sent it out to all teams. And I would do that once or twice a week. So I'm sure they hated it. Yeah. I'm sure they hated every second of it, like thinking about it. But, I was just doing anything I could because I wanted to keep playing, and I didn't know any other way to do it. But so with doing that, my quarterback, my senior year, was good family friends with the Thielens.
Okay.
And he just said, I could talk to him if you want. And I was like, yeah, cool. Just give me his number, give him a heads up that I'm going to call him. So I just called him and just asked, what to expect, coming into these, any advice you have when talking to teams, how to act, how to represent myself, different workouts, what are they looking for? And so he just kind of gave me a rundown. And basically what he came down to is you need to run a fast 40. He said, you don't run a fast 40, nothing else really matters. And, I mean, I knew that from doing all the research I've been doing. But the 40 is not really my thing. I was never that fast off the start. Once I get going, I feel like I'm fairly fast, but it was that start that kind of got me. But that was his biggest thing of advice is, just talk to as many scouts as you can, run a fast 40. Okay. Because that's what worked for him.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Well, I suppose, your game was more with probably your leaping ability, isn't it?
Yeah, just catching traffic. Yep. Jumping ability. I like to moss defenders.
There you go. Nice.
That's what worked for me in Canada quite a bit.
Sweet. Obviously now you're on the Vikings and you're a teammate of Adams. Do you guys hang out outside of practice, or who do you hang out on? Is there a group of friends that you've kind of gotten to know, or do you hang out with any of them outside?
I mean, when you get done with practice, a lot of time, like guys like Adam, they have a family. Yeah. A kid, a wife, and another kid on the way. So a lot of the family guys will go home and try to spend as much time as they can with their family just because it's such a busy season, and that's a good stress release for everybody. Yep. It's just to kind of get away from their job for a little bit. I, on the other hand, I don't have any family to come home to. Yeah. So, I'm living the single life. So I'm coming home, and a lot of time I'm just being my first year, I'm putting a major emphasis on just knowing all the plays.
I suppose.
Knowing the defense and stuff. So I'm putting a little bit of extra time in that, which is taking away from my social life a little bit. Yep. But, I figured, give and take. I feel like it's going to reward me in the future.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly.
So right now I'm living pretty low-key. There's a few guys, CJ and Ham and I are close just because we did go to college together for a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
He's somebody that, I'm pretty close with, definitely at the facility, but he's another guy who has a family. So, it's hard to hang out with him outside.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. That's cool. Obviously, when first time I had you on, we talked and we had you gave me your Mount Rushmore Vikings players.
Yes.
And you mentioned how Moss was your number one, was your idol. The Vikings as a whole, I've noticed they do a great job of bringing back players to interact with current players, fans, and the organization as a whole. Have you met Moss?
I have not, but I'm going to. At some point, I'm going to. Like, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
I've wanted to for so long. Like, it'll happen. I'm being patient about it, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. And how big of a grin are you going to have on your face? And are you going to be able to say anything to him?
For sure. I'll be able to, I got a lot to say to the guy. No, I'm going to be excited for that for sure.
Yeah.
I'll definitely probably be smiling, ear to ear, because he was my idol growing up. He's the reason why, I'm playing receiver today. Is, just because of the impact he made on the field.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Who are some of the past players that you've met? Is there any of them that you have met that you're kind of excited to see at all, other than possibly Moss?
We during training camp or OTAs, we had a bunch of alumni come through, a bunch of people that were in the Ring of Honor. So I got to shake hands with everybody, and a few people kind of pulled me off to the side. There was one guy who. He was affiliated with the MIAC somehow, and so he pulled me off to the side and talked to me about my story and how proud he was, and just how excited he is for me, and just kind of gave me some advice of what to kind of look out for. It's terrible right now that I'm forgetting his name. But
I could tell you're answering your mind.
I was processing.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the wheels turning. I don't know. But I don't.
Bench warmer Bob. Does that ring any kind of bell to you?
Bench warmer. Oh,
he was a D lineman, tall, skinny guy.
Gosh, yeah, that sounds so familiar.
I think he was part of the People Eaters towards the end of it, but he still stops after practice every once in a while. And, we always have
Bob Lertzema.
There you go.
Bob Lertzema. Yes. Yep. He's one of the.
He was towards the tail end of the People Eaters, right?
Yeah, let's see, 72 to 76, and then 76. Hold on, let me see. 72 to 76.
Okay.
He was with him. So he made a few of the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's cool that he pulled you apart and pulled you aside and just kind of. That's gotta be cool when you have past players like that who are in the game who seek you out to talk to you. That's got to be pretty nice. What obviously when playing different teams and you're going up against different players, is there a certain cornerback that you kind of want to go against, or is there a player on another team that you kind of want to meet also, or who outside of the Viking organization that's currently playing that you kind of look up to that you would like to meet?
There's plenty of receivers in the game. You always respect the guys that are near the top. So your Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. Like all those kind of guys, you always try to watch them and try to take a little bit of something from the game just because they're dominant for a reason. So why not try to learn something from them?
Yep.
But I try not to get fanboy.
Yeah, I know. I try not to either.
But when you're out there watching Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees play, and we're coming up, we're going to see Tom Brady. I try to take a moment out of the game. When our defense is up, just to not actually sit on the bench, go up and actually watch them, because you're watching some of the greatest to ever do it. It's just like who knows how much longer they're going to be playing. So at least say you got to watch these guys up close in person. You're not actually watching it from the stands. You're on the field. You're playing against them.
Yep.
So that's something I know I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Watching Aaron Rodgers play.
Yeah.
Just with the stuff he's done, I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch, just because how crafty he is, how smart he is, how calm and cool and collected.
Yep. It pains me to agree with you on that, but I do.
You got to respect.
I respect his talent.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you respect him, you got to respect what he's doing.
Yeah. Back in the day, with Favre, I didn't like Favre because obviously he was a Packers quarterback, but I respected his talent, but I liked just his how he approached the game. He was just like a child out there. Like it was the first time he's ever played, and he just loved the game. And for Aaron Rodgers, he comes off so cocky, and I think that's what. And he has reason to be cocky.
He's got that quiet confidence,
but it's just like that little smirk he makes. I'm like, oh.
It kills me every time they get in a 2-minute drill, and he literally is in the taking the snap, and he has a grin on his face, just like they think they're going to stop me.
Yeah, no, I know the grid. I know the grid.
Watch this. Like that's one of my favorite moments in sports.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like you mentioned, you're going to be seeing Tom Brady here pretty soon. That'll be exciting. I mean, it amazes me just what him and Belichick have put together, and how he continues to play so well. I mean, it's amazing how high level these older quarterbacks are, like Breeze and like Brady. It really makes you wonder, when will they retire? You know what I mean? Especially if he's staying healthy, and he's not. You don't see Brady really getting injured.
No, I mean, he's a smart quarterback. He's obviously done it for 18, 20 years, whatever it is. You know, he's seen all those defenses hundreds of the time, and I can't imagine how much film he's watched. Like, he's just kind of one step above the defenders. I mean, even the coaches too. And he knows when to not take a shot. If somebody's coming in, he might throw it away. He might go down. Like, he's been through it all. He has all that experience. So I feel like naturally he's gonna have a little bit longer of a career because he knows how to avoid taking those kind of hits. Like I said, like, he doesn't even have 1,000 yards rushing yet. He's 3 yards away or something like that. Really? Or maybe he got that. No, I just heard that stat the other day. That how many years has he been playing now? 18.
I think it's about that.
And he has 997 yards rushing. Like, that's. Well, I can't break that down per game.
He had a rushing touchdown a couple weeks ago.
He did. he was close to breaking his 1,000-yard mark.
That's funny.
I remember he posted something on his Instagram about that. That, you know, that's one of his milestones is get to 1,000 yards. It's crazy he hasn't got there yet.
One of his more prouder moments.
And if you've ever seen that video of him running the 40, he's not.
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't seen that?
No, I'll have to look at it.
You have to YouTube that after this.
Nice.
That's great.
Well, you know, so obviously you'll be getting back to the team. You know, with your meetings, do you meet as an offense? I'm assuming, right? And do you meet as wide receivers separately, off to the side on different meetings? Is that how it kind of works, or are the tight ends included in there, or what are the different groups of meetings that you guys are you're involved with? I mean, it definitely depends on a daily basis, kind of what we have to go over, what's installed, you know, what the emphasis is that day. But it'll start off the day with special teams meetings that'll last, you know, like 45 minutes. Then we'll go into an offensive install. We'll install all the run and pass plays, and then it'll take, you know, an hour or somewhere around there. And then a lot of the time, you know, if we finish early, we'll break up into position meetings. So it'll just be receivers in our room, and he'll kind of go down. He might go over our script, our practice script for the day. He might break down some defenses. We might watch some other film, and we'll just kind of communicate about what we as a group have seen. You know. Okay.
He'll kind of be going over what he's seen, and then Adam and Diggs will be in the back and be like, "Oh, well, this guy does this a lot. This guy does this. Let's watch out for this." So it's kind of just like a group effort of trying to diagnose that defense. Nice.
Well, I'll finish up with the last question. Let's talk about Mike Zimmer. If we bring a Super Bowl home, which hopefully we do, I think it'll be tough to name him second behind Bud Grant just because he brought a trophy home. But to me, no matter what kind of happens with Zimmer's career with us, whether, you know, I think we're never going to be just horrible with him, but I think he will go down as worst case the second best coach of Vikings history. You know, obviously you're on the offense, and I know he's not as hands-on on the offense, but what is it like with Zimmer? I mean, he seems to have a very dry sense of humor, where you know he'll drop a little one-liner, and you're just kind of like,
is that a joke?
Yeah. Is that a joke? And you're like, oh, then you wait for him a little smart. Okay.
Yeah, can I laugh?
Yeah. Is that what's it like playing for Mr. Zimmer?
No, he's a guy that, you know, everybody respects in the locker room. You know, he has a proven track record. Mm-hmm. We all definitely buy into what he's saying. He's very demanding in what he wants, and if you're not giving him what he wants, you know, he's gonna find somebody else that will. Very detailed, very organized. You know, I love him as a coach. Like, you know, he might be demanding, but it's working.
Yeah.
So it's hard to...
An old school coach.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're winning, if you're doing all the little stuff right, like, he's going to treat you right. Every time we win a game, we'll come in to the locker room the next morning, and he'll have, you know, a catered breakfast in, and he has a little sign that says, "You take care of me, I take care of you."
Nice.
And so it's kind of cool just to see the response and feedback kind of like that.
Awesome. Well, before we go, I give you a piece of paper with a word on it. So why don't you go ahead and give that word?
The word this week
is
cards. I lied. Car, C-A-R, car.
All right, and as you that listen know, that is for our Minnesota Golden Gophers ticket giveaway for the game in February. So that's the third of the 4 words. The next word will be next week, and then I'll ask you to email me all 4 words for a chance to win those. So awesome. Thank you, Brandon, for coming in. We got a whole bunch of signed things that we will be giving away through this program and through our Facebook and just other things throughout the year. So I appreciate you doing those for us and coming in, giving us time. And I look forward to our next conversation.
I appreciate it, Beau.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. All right, well, that was the Brandon Zylstra interview. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you're on your cell phone. Please share this podcast so other Viking fans, other Brandon Zylstra fans can listen to the interview. And as usual, we will see you next week.